The Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion in Modern English. A one-page summary. Goyim are mentally inferior to Jews and can't run their nations properly. For their sake and ours, we need to abolish their governments and replace them with a single government. This will take a long time and involve much bloodshed, but it's for a good cause. Here's what we'll need to do. Place our agents and helpers everywhere. Take control of the media and use it in propaganda for our plans. Start fights between different races, classes, and religions. Use bribery, threats, and blackmail to get our way. Use free Masonic lodges to attract potential public officials. Appeal to successful people's egos. Appoint puppet leaders who can be controlled by blackmail. Replace royal rule with socialist rule, then communism, then despotism. Abolish all rights and freedoms except the right by force by us. Sacrifice people, including Jews sometimes, when necessary. Eliminate religion. Replace it with science and materialism. Control the education system to spread deception and destroy intellect. Rewrite history to our benefit. Create entertaining distractions. Corrupt minds with filth and perversion. Encourage people to spy on one another. Keep the masses in poverty and perpetual labor. Take possession of all true wealth, property, and especially gold. Use gold to manipulate the markets, causing depressions, etc. Introduce a progressive tax on wealth. Replace sound investment with speculation. Make long-term interest-bearing loans to governments. Give bad advice to governments and everyone else. Eventually the Goyim will be so angry with their governments, because we'll blame them for the resulting mess, that they'll gladly have us take over. We will then appoint a descendant of David to be the king of the world, and the remaining Goyim will bow down and sing his praises. Everyone will live in peace and obedient order under his glorious rule. The chapters of the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion in Modern English. Protocol 1, What We Believe. Protocol 2, Economic Wars. Protocol 3, Methods of Conquest. Protocol 4, Materialism to replace religion. Protocol 5, Despotism and modern progress. Protocol 6, Takeover techniques. Protocol 7, Worldwide wars. Protocol 8, Provisional governments. Protocol 9, Re-education. Protocol 10, Preparing for power. Protocol 11, the totalitarian state. Protocol 12, control of the media. Protocol 13, distractions. Protocol 14, assault on religion. Protocol 15, ruthless suppression. Protocol 16, brainwashing. Protocol 17, abuse of authority. Protocol 18, arrest of opponents. Protocol 19, rulers and the people. Protocol 20, financial program. Protocol 21, loans and credit. Protocol 22, the power of gold. Protocol 23, instilling obedience. And finally, Protocol 24, the qualities of the ruler. Protocol number 1, what we believe. Let's discuss the difference between us Jews and them Goyim, cattle or non-Jews. People are basically evil by nature. The bad people in this world far outnumber the good. So the best form of government is not one that holds reasoned discussions with its people, but one that uses tyranny. Most people would gladly become an all-powerful dictator and sacrifice the well-being of others for their own benefit. Where do people get their guidance? And what stops them from acting out their evil desires? In olden times, people behaved like animals and were guided by the force of their bestial instincts. Then, as society developed, humans developed laws to follow, but these laws were based on those same natural instincts. So the only valid law is the, quote, law of nature, end quote, also known as the use of force. Freedom is only an ideal. Nobody really has it. But if you want to win an election, it's good to preach the ideals of freedom, even if you plan to deprive your voters of it. If your opponent believes in the concept of freedom, like as a libertarian, Ron Paul, use that against him. Because if he foolishly believes in freedom, he won't be willing to use the underhanded tactics that you do. He will play fair while you play dirty. Any government that is based on freedom loses control over its people. This is a terrible thing, because remember, that people are basically bad, and the only way to guide them is by use of force. If a government is guided by freedom, the people will become weak. We can take advantage of that weakness to overpower them and install a new government. Gold. There was a time when religion was the guiding force of mankind, but now money is more important than religion. Money, especially gold, is the new guiding force because it gives power and freedom to the common people. But that freedom is bad because they'll always want more and don't know how to use it. We cannot allow that. Self-governance can be given to the masses, but only long enough for them to form a disorganized mob. At that point, we should intervene to create strife and racial hatred between their different classes and races, 1% against the 99%ers. This will cause them to fight and kill each other, hopefully starting a civil war. Once a nation is engaged in civil war, it will either destroy itself or be weakened to the point where it can be taken over by another foreign power. In either case, our job will be done, as they will no longer be a threat to us. If that nation ends up in bankruptcy, we'll offer to loan them some of our money. They'll have no option but to take it. If anyone claims that the above is immoral, let me ask them this. Suppose a nation has two enemies, an external enemy, which is a neighboring nation, and an internal enemy represented by political rivals who might try to overthrow the nation from within. Well, if it is acceptable to destroy the other nation without any regard to morals, then why should it not also be acceptable to destroy the internal enemy? After all, it's the more dangerous of the two, and the more likely to succeed in destroying the society. Who in their right mind could expect to govern the people by the use of reasoned debate? Because those people who are really quite stupid when compared to you, the Jews, could then counter your arguments with their own silly arguments, and then you'd have to keep debating them. You'd get nowhere. The people who make up society, the voters, are lame-brained numbskulls who never achieve anything. Useless eaters. They spend their time following astrology charts and football. They obviously cannot think logically. In fact, the only time that they agree on anything is when we trick the majority of them into believing something. So, they may as well just let us do our job of ruling them. Otherwise, the whole nation will erupt into anarchy. Politics has nothing to do with morals. Anyone who tries to govern according to morals is a moron and unsuitable for office. A true politician must resort to cunning and lies if he expects to get anywhere. Great qualities such as honesty and integrity are a burden for any ruler. Anyone in politics who decides to start behaving like this, their career will be over long before they know it. Most Goyim believe that their ruler should have these qualities, but of course, we Jews know better. Might is right. There is a commonly held belief that all people are born with rights, meaning that they should be allowed to do or have certain things in life, regardless of who they are. But there is no way of proving this. What is it? Invisibly. Then, when it has gained enough strength, we can unleash it, and it will be unstoppable because no one will be prepared for it. We need to do a lot of evil things in order to gain power, but that's okay. Because once we have power over everything, then we can use it for good things, like running the nations properly and efficiently. We could never do that if we gave people the freedoms that they believe that they should have. The end justifies the means. So let's put aside moral issues and focus on the end result. We have a good long-range plan here, and we cannot afford to deviate from it. Otherwise, all of our work over the centuries will have been for nothing. In order to plan our actions effectively, we must take into account that the common people are an incoherent mob of blubbering idiots who can't even look after themselves. These people are blind, senseless, and have no ability to reason. In fact, they'll get suckered in by anyone. While the majority of them are total nincompoops that would follow one another over a cliff top, as they have no leadership skills, occasionally one might emerge who appears to have some degree of intelligence. However, even these people do not understand how to lead, and if you let them, they would bring an entire nation to ruin. Only someone trained from childhood to serve as a leader can truly understand politics. People left to look after themselves will be brought to ruin. That's because their leaders who emerge from amongst them are only interested in power and glory. Is it possible for these people to put aside their self-interest and manage the affairs of nations? Like, can they defend themselves from an external enemy? No way, we say. When a project of that scale is divided up among the most dim-witted members of that society, it becomes unintelligible to them. We are despots. Only a despotic ruler can effectively carry out large operations and distribute all the necessary resources to the various departments so that important plans can be executed. From this, we conclude that the most effective government is one that concentrates all of its power into the hands of a single responsible person. Without absolute despotism, there is no way to guide the masses, and civilization will collapse. They are savage barbarians and behave like that at every opportunity given to them. The moment the people gain freedom, it quickly turns into anarchy, which is just simple savagery. Notice that when people are given freedoms, they use it to drink themselves senseless and behave like animals. We ourselves should avoid behaving like that. Goyim are always drinking alcohol or thinking about doing so. We caused this to happen by using our many agents to promote it as part of their culture. It increased immorality and makes their youth stupid and pliable. We have agents placed everywhere, occupying many positions throughout society, such as tutors, lackeys, governesses in the houses of the wealthy, by clerks and others. We also have a lot of women agents acting as prostitutes who assist in the corruption process. Our modus operandi is simple: force and make-believe. Only force gives you power, especially in the hands of a smooth talker. Violence and deception must be the rule of any politician who wants to remain in power. This may be considered evil, but please remember, evil is justified when it is used to achieve good. Therefore, we must not stop at bribery, deceit, and treachery if they can help us attain our end goal. In politics, we must know how to seize the property of others without hesitation if it allows us to gain full power over them. We may need to wage many wars in order to achieve our ultimate peace. Between wars, we can replace the horrors of wars by less noticeable and more satisfactory sentences of death. This is necessary to maintain terror in the populace, which leads then to blind submission. A just but merciless penal system is the greatest strength of the state. We do this not only for the sake of gain, but also in the name of duty. For the sake of our victory, we must stick to the program of violence and make believe. It is enough for them to know that we are merciless for any disobedience to cease. The principle of balancing accounts, particularly the repayment of debt, is strongly ingrained and one which we will take advantage of. We will use this principle as a means to bring all governments under the control of our super government. We shall end liberty. Far back in ancient times, we were the first to stand among crowds of people and cry out the words, liberty, equality, fraternity. The people fell for our bait. They picked up those words and started repeating them parrot-like throughout the world. As a result, they have taken away the well-being of the world and the true freedom of the individual, which is formerly well protected from mob pressure. The so-called wise men of the Goyim, the intellectuals, could not make anything out of these words. They just cannot see that in nature there is no equality or freedom, that nature herself has established inequality of minds, characters, and capacities. They never stopped for once to consider that the mob is a blind thing, and as such can only elect leaders that they themselves must be blind as the mob itself. And even if the mob does manage to find someone intelligent, that person wouldn't understand politics, as we pointed out earlier. Goyim do not take any of this into consideration. Thanks to dumbass libertarians, the words liberty, equality, and fraternity has spread to all corners of the earth. These words installed peace, quiet, and solidarity throughout all Goyim of the earth, and thus weakened their strength. As you will see later, this helped us to our victory. It gave us the possibility of getting our hands on the master stroke, the destruction of privileges and power of their royalty. That royal class was the only defense the Goyim had against us. On the ruins of the eternal and air-based aristocracy of the Goyim, we have set up the aristocracy of our educated class, headed by the aristocracy of money. The entry qualifications to this aristocracy are based on wealth, which is dependent upon us, the money changers, and on knowledge, which also comes from us, especially from our learned elders who have provided such inspiration. Our victory has been made easier by fact that whenever we sought favors from men in power, we always appealed to their most basic of desires, like cash money and all kinds of material goodies. Even one human weakness is often enough to pass control of these men over to those offering the bribes. The concept of freedom has enabled us to convince the people of all countries that their government is a servant of the people, that the people are the true owners of the country, and that the servant can be replaced like a worn-out glove. This possibility of replacing the representatives of the people gives us the power to appoint a new government.